Good day, learners. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. So, are you ready to listen? If you are ready, I want you to listen very carefully and watch the video, okay? So, we will now talk about patterns. Patterns, they are all around us. You can see patterns in buildings. They are also used in clothing and design. Patterns are everywhere in math. What is patterns? Patterns do the same things over and over again. Remember that every pattern follows a special rule. The rule is how the patterns works. Example. Look at this pattern. It begins with a red rectangle followed by a yellow rectangle. Next is red and another yellow and red and yellow. It is doing the same thing over and over again. What special rule does this pattern follow? Well, rectangles alternate between red and yellow. Do you see that the rule tells us how the pattern works? In this pattern, rectangles alternate between red and yellow. If you figure out the rule, you've cracked the pattern's code even if there is a part of the pattern missing. You will be able to find it because you crack the code. Here is the pattern that I just showed you. Imagine this spot is missing. What belongs in this spot? Let's think this pattern rules, okay? Rectangles alternate between red and yellow. So what color rectangle goes in here? Yes, a red rectangle. By figuring out the rule, you were able to fill this spot in the pattern. We have another pattern here. Instead of shapes, we have numbers. In this pattern, the first thing we need to do is find out what makes this a pattern. Look at each of the numbers and see if you can see a pattern. What rule this pattern follow? Do you know? Okay, you always add 1 to get the next number. Every number goes up by 1 each time. That's the pattern. For example, look at this number and the pattern here. So, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Giunsa man na siya? Unsa may pattern ana nila? Simple. So, you will have 1 and then imong i-add og 1. So, 1 plus 1 equals 2. 2 plus what equals 3. 3 plus 4, 3 plus 1 equals 4. 4 plus 1 equals 5. 5 plus 1 equals 6. And so on. Now, we're going to play a game called Complete the pattern. Okay, are you ready? If you are ready, let's go. Round 1. Okay, I'll show you a pattern, then you can try to crack the code and complete it. Okay? Here's the first. You'll notice there are a lot of shapes here, so we should probably just look at this pattern line by line and see what we discover. On the first line, we see a circle, a blue square, and a circle. Second in line is similar to the first, except there are 2 squares in between the circles. Notice a pattern? Okay, let's complete the pattern. How many blue squares are in this 4th line? In this 4th line. Okay, yes, very good. 4. The 4th line has 4 blue squares in between the circles. How can we know that? The blue squares increase by 1 each line. The blue square in between the circles keep growing by 1 every line. That's how this pattern works. So 1, and then 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3. So next is 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 blue squares. Okay, next, round 2. Look at this next pattern. It is a series of creatures or animals. We have hamster, followed by 2 birds, and there's a hamster, and then there is a mystery spot that we have to complete, and a bird. Yes, bird. Okay. So, by looking at this pattern, you already know that the missing spot in here is a bird. So very good. A bird goes in here. How do we know that bird goes here? Well, to crack the code and figure out the pattern, we have to look at the clues. We see a hamster first, followed by 2 birds, then another hamster. And it goes on, and the rule for this pattern then is that a hamster is followed by 2 birds, and then the pattern repeats. Okay, so what is next after the 2 birds? Yes, a hamster. Now let's have round 3. Here is another pattern to complete. Is this a pattern with shapes or numbers? Yeah, and numbers. We need to figure out what the final number is in this pattern. Look at the different numbers and see what pattern you notice. Once you figure out the rule these numbers are following, you'll be able to figure out this last number. Kining na naka-blank. What is this missing number in the pattern? Yes, a 4. How do we know that? What rule did you notice the pattern was following? Okay, you have to subtract 1 to get the next number. So the first number is 9. So 9 minus 1 is 8. 8 minus 1 is 7. 7 minus 1 is 6. 6 minus 1 is 5. 5 minus 1 is 4. Okay, the answer is 4. What about 4 minus 1? Okay, the answer is 3. Awesome, you did great job. Okay, very good everyone. Patterns are so much fun when you see a pattern. You can try to figure out what rule it is following. Patterns are all around us, just waiting to be discovered. Okay, next, activity time. That's all for today. I hope you learned something. Thank you very much for listening. Bye bye.